All right, welcome to another deep dive. Buckle up because today we're headed straight into the Nevada desert.
Into the mysteries of Area 51.
Area 51, exactly. The place that's practically synonymous with secrecy, conspiracy
Hmm.
theories, all that.
And the unknown.
Yeah. And we're going to be using the Wikipedia article on Area 51 to kind of, help us separate fact from fiction.
Which can be pretty hard with a place like this. I mean, that's kind of the allure of Area 51, isn't it? Blurring the lines between reality and myth.
Totally. I mean, this place it's captured imaginations for decades. So
Yeah.
let's start with the basics. What do we actually know for sure about Area 51?
Well, officially it's known as Homey Airport,
Homey Airport. Okay.
or Groom Lake. And it's located within the Nevada Test and Training Range. It's about 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas.
So pretty remote.
All very remote. And it sits within an even larger restricted airspace called the Groom Box.
It's a groom box. Okay.
Yeah, it's massive, about 23 by 25 miles. And the base itself is right next to a dry lake bed. You guessed it, Groom Lake, which has served as a natural runway for, well, who knows how many secret test flights.
I mean, talk about a perfect hidden spot, right? In the middle of the desert, next to a lake bed that can be a runway. What more could you ask for? And it's pretty interesting, too, that it's close to Yucca Flat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where all those nuclear tests happen.
Adds to the mystique, doesn't it? Creates this almost, I don't know, otherworldly atmosphere, perfect for all those theories and speculations to flourish.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind. Go back to the beginning.
Okay, back to 1955,
1955.
the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
The CIA needed a super secret location to develop and test the Lockheed U-2 spy plane. This was Project Aquatone.
Ah, Project Aquatone. So they basically needed a place that was like so secret that even the wind wouldn't know about it?
Exactly. And the story goes that Kelly Johnson, the mastermind behind the U-2, he was flying over Groom Lake and just knew it was perfect.
Really? Like that quickly?
He even called it another Edwards, comparing it to Edwards Air Force Base.
Wow, that's high praise. So they didn't start off with this like massive high-tech facility like everyone probably pictures.
Not at all. The early days of Area 51 were surprisingly bare bones.
Really?
Yeah, just basic shelters, workshops, trailers. Makes you wonder how they achieved so much with so little.
Yeah, talk about humble beginnings. It's like, that's where this legend was born.
And it just grew from there.
Well, yeah, because the U-2 was just the start.
Oh yeah, the U-2 opened the door for even more ambitious projects, like the OCAX CART program.
Scarf.
Focused on developing the Lockheed A-12, the precursor to the SR-71 Blackbird.
Yes.
And to handle this new program, Area 51 had to grow. They built a longer runway, new hangars, the whole works.
So picture this once remote location transforming into this bustling hub of top secret activity. Did they add any interesting features during this expansion?
Actually, yeah, they did. It was a safety feature on the lake bed, an Archimedean spiral.
Spiral
Right.
on a lake bed. What was that for?
It was for emergencies. Imagine an A-12 pilot approaching the end of the runway needs to abort takeoff.
Oh, I see.
The spiral let them turn around safely instead of, crashing into the sagebrush. They called it the hook.
Wow, that's incredible. Talk about thinking outside the box, or should I say, the spiral. But it wasn't always smooth sailing at Area 51, was it?
No, not at all. One project, the D-21 Tagboard program, ran into a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
The goal was to build a high-altitude reconnaissance drone.
Ambitious.
Yeah, it was supposed to go over Mach 3, launched from a modified A-12, but it didn't work out. The program was canceled in 1971.
Makes sense. I mean, even in a place like Area 51 where they're pushing boundaries, not every experiment's going to succeed. Plus, testing this kind of cutting-edge technology, I imagine it had its dangers, right?
Absolutely. The D-21 program, for example, even experienced a tragic accident that sadly resulted in the loss of a crew member. It reminds us that there are real risks involved when you're pushing the limits of what's possible.
Yeah, very true. But the drive to innovate, it continued, didn't it? What other kinds of projects were going on at Area 51 around this time?
Well, besides developing top-secret aircraft, Area 51 also played a really important role in evaluating captured Soviet aircraft during the Cold War. It's like a real-life spy thriller right here in the Nevada desert.
Wow. Okay, like what?
Well, there was this program called Habdo-Nut. It focused on testing a MiG-21.
MiG-21.
They got it from an Iraqi pilot who defected. They would stage mock dogfights between the MiG-21 and the F-4 Phantom.
Oh, wow. The F-4 Phantom, that was the top U.S. fighter jet at the time, right?
Yep, that's the one.
So who won those dogfights?
Well, that's the interesting part. The results weren't always clear-cut. A lot of times, it came down to pilot skill rather than which plane was more advanced.
Really? So it wasn't always just about having the better technology.
Exactly. Shows that the human factor is always critical, even with all this advanced weaponry.
That's a really good point. So what other Soviet aircraft did they manage to test?
They also got their hands on a MiG-17, which they tested under the HAV drill and HAV ferry programs.
Wow, so they were really analyzing Soviet technology. I bet they learned a lot from that.
Oh, definitely. It gave them valuable insights into Soviet tactics, which was essential during the Cold War,
Yeah, it's like they were playing this high-stakes game of chess.
trying to outmaneuver each other.
Exactly. But all of this is nothing compared to what came next at Area 51.
This is where things get really interesting. This is where stealth technology enters the scene.
Stealth technology, that's right. Area 51 became the birthplace of the F-117 Nighthawk.
The first operational stealth aircraft in the world. The legendary flying black triangle.
The one that really captured the public imagination, right? How did it all begin?
It started with a prototype called HAV Blue. Its first flight was in 1977, in total secrecy, of course, at Groom Lake.
And then they developed the F-117 from that.
Exactly. They tested and operated it from Area 51 under a level of secrecy that's hard to even imagine.
I can only imagine the security surrounding a project like that. Must have been a ton of people working around the clock on it.
There was a whole group dedicated to it, the 4450th Tactical Group.
The 4450th Tactical Group.
Yeah, they called them a unit. Their job was to get the F-117 ready for service. They even used A-7 Corsair II aircraft, painted black, to act as stand-ins for training and testing. It was a remarkable feat of engineering and ingenuity.
Yeah, the F-117, it really changed everything. It was a huge leap forward in aviation technology. But did things quiet down at Area 51 after that?
Not a chance. The base kept expanding, and they never stopped working on those classified projects.
Yeah.
Area 51, it seems, has always been at the cutting edge of research and development.
Always pushing the boundaries. But with all the secrecy, it's no surprise that Area 51 became a hotbed for all those conspiracy theories, especially the ones about UFOs. So where do things stand legally? I mean, what's the official word on Area 51 and all the speculation surrounding it?
Well, the government's approach to Area 51 has always been, secretive. For a long time, they wouldn't even admit it existed, even though you could see it in satellite photos.
It's like they were trying to hide in plain sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But eventually, they had to acknowledge it. It was in 2013, thanks to a Freedom of Information Act request, that the CIA finally declassified documents about Area 51.
Really? 2013? That's not that long ago.
Yeah. It was the first time they officially confirmed the base existed, although they left out a lot of details, of course.
So what did they actually say about it?
Well, they revealed some of its history and purpose, but they kept a lot of the juicy details classified.
Of course. I bet the people who'd been researching Area 51 for years were pretty excited about that, though. Finally getting some official confirmation.
You bet. But it didn't stop the rumors and theories. If anything, it probably made them even stronger.
Makes sense. I mean, that's the thing about Area 51, right? The more you learn, the more questions you have. So we've got the official story, but then there's this whole other side to Area 51.
The side that deals with UFOs and all the conspiracy theories.
The mythology of Area 51, and that's what we're going to explore next. Okay, so let's get into it. UFOs and Area 51. It's a pairing that's like legendary.
It really is. Area 51, with all its secrecy, it just draws in those theories about extraterrestrials.
You know, it's understandable, right? You've got this top secret base hidden in the desert, developing all this advanced tech. It's a recipe for some pretty wild ideas.
For sure. And don't forget, this was during the Cold War.
Right.
Tensions were high, and people were nervous, worried about the Soviet Union. Anything unusual in the sky could trigger those anxieties.
So it was this perfect storm: secrecy, advanced technology, and the Cold War.
It's like they were setting the stage for the UFO phenomenon, even if they didn't mean to.
Exactly. And when the government refused to acknowledge Area 51 for so long, it just made things worse. People started filling in the blanks with their own theories.
It's like the less they said, the more people's imaginations ran wild. So what are some of the more common theories people have about Area 51 and aliens?
Well, some believe they're hiding crashed alien spacecraft there. Crashed spacecraft. Like from Roswell.
Some people think so, yeah. Others go even further, claiming the government's doing experiments on alien bodies, or reverse engineering their technology.
Or even meeting with them in secret.
That's right. It's a blend of science fiction and real-world anxieties. But is there any actual evidence to back any of this up? Or are these just stories?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It is. There's no concrete proof. At least not that's been made public. But just because we haven't seen evidence doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
True. So we can't say for sure that aliens haven't landed at Area 51, but we also can't confirm they have.
It's one of those mysteries that might never be fully solved.
Yeah, the truth is out there, but we might not have all the pieces yet. But here's something interesting. Some of the people who worked at Area 51, they've actually contributed to the whole UFO thing, even if they didn't mean to.
Oh yeah, a lot of veterans who worked on those secret projects, they believe a lot of those UFO sightings were actually just misidentified aircraft.
Really? Like what kind of aircraft?
The U-2 and the A-12, mostly. Flying high up, reflecting the setting sun.
Oh, wow. So people saw these things in the sky and thought there was something mysterious, but it was just spy planes doing their job.
That's what they believed. They were creating the UFO phenomenon without even realizing it.
It's like a giant case of mistaken identity.
Exactly. It shows how easy it is for something ordinary to become extraordinary when it's shrouded in secrecy.
It's all about perception, isn't it? How our beliefs and expectations can shape what we see. And it's kind of cool that these veterans who had to keep quiet for so long are now part of the UFO story.
It's another twist in the whole Area 51 saga. Even without aliens, the real history of the place is pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Spy planes, stealth fighters, captured Soviet MiGs. It's a testament to human ingenuity and the desire to push technological boundaries.
And let's not forget about the people themselves. The engineers, the test pilots, all the people who worked on these projects, often in secret. Their stories are a big part of Area 51's history, too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, imagine working on something you can't tell anyone about. It must have been a really unique experience, but also probably pretty isolating.
Exactly. It makes you think about the impact of secrecy on those involved. The psychological and emotional toll it must have taken.
Did any of them ever talk about what it was like?
Some former workers have shared their experiences about the strain of keeping secrets, the loneliness, the difficulty of adjusting back to normal life after leaving Area 51. Their stories give us a glimpse into what it was like behind the scenes.
It's a good reminder that technological progress, especially when it comes to national security, often comes with a human cost. Did this secrecy ever cause any legal problems for Area 51?
It did. In 1994, some former contractors sued, claiming they'd been exposed to toxic materials while working at Area 51.
Toxic materials, that's serious.
Yeah, they said it had caused health problems and they wanted information about the chemicals involved.
What happened with the lawsuit?
The government used the state secrets privilege to block it.
Ah.
They said releasing information about Area 51 could put national security at risk. So the case got dismissed because of lack of evidence.
Wow, so they never got any answers.
It seems not. It shows the tension between national security and transparency. And it raises questions about the impact of these secret operations on the people and communities around them.
Yeah, it's a reminder that progress can have downsides. But even with all the secrecy and potential dangers, Area 51 still fascinates people, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Remember that whole Storm Area 51 thing a few years back?
Yeah, the Naruto run, that was crazy.
Millions of people online joking about raiding Area 51 to find aliens. Most of them didn't actually show up, of course.
Of course not. But it shows how much Area 51 captures the imagination. People are drawn to the mystery, the unknown.
It speaks to that desire to uncover secrets, to find out what's really going on. And even without aliens, the real history of Area 51, with all its technology and Cold War intrigue, is pretty fascinating.
Absolutely. But Area 51 also teaches us something important, don't you think?
About what?
About being careful with information, especially these days when misinformation spreads so quickly.
That's true. We need to think critically, separate fact from fiction, and consider different viewpoints, especially when it comes to topics like Area 51, where there's so much speculation.
Exactly. So as we continue our deep dive, let's remember to keep our critical thinking hats on. We need to look at the evidence, understand the context, and consider the human impact of this incredible place.
Well said. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something that often gets overlooked. The human side of Area 51. What was it like to live and work in the shadow of this secret base?
It's easy to get lost in all the talk about, technology and conspiracy theories, but we can't forget about the people who actually lived and worked around Area 51.
Yeah, think about it, living in a small town like Rachel, Nevada, right next to this super secret base.
I bet it was pretty surreal.
Oh, absolutely. All the rumors, the strange lights in the sky, the feeling that something big was always happening just over the horizon. Must have been a wild experience.
I'd imagine so. I bet the local diner was buzzing with all sorts of Area 51 gossip.
Probably. I wonder if people were more afraid or more curious about what was going on behind those fences.
Maybe a little bit of both.
I'd say so. Some folks probably leaned into the whole mystery, you know, became part of the legend. Others, maybe they were more nervous about it all, worried about the risks.
Yeah, makes sense. And think about the people working at Area 51. They had this incredible secret, contributing to these groundbreaking projects, but they couldn't tell anyone about it.
Right. Not even their families or friends. It must have been a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah, like living a double life, keeping this huge part of yourself hidden. I wonder what kind of impact that had on their lives.
It couldn't have been easy. That level of secrecy, it takes a toll. It makes you wonder about the psychological effects, the emotional strain of working in such a high-pressure, secretive environment.
Yeah, and it reminds us that all this technological progress, especially when it comes to, national security, it often has these hidden human costs. Did anyone ever talk about their experiences?
There have been some accounts from former workers. They talk about the pressure of keeping secrets, the loneliness, how hard it was to adjust back to regular life after leaving Area 51. Their stories give us a glimpse into that hidden world.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. It reminds us that behind all the cool technology and the legends, there are real people whose lives were deeply affected by their involvement with Area 51.
It's a side of the story that we don't hear enough about. It adds another dimension to our understanding of Area 51.
Definitely. So even though the government finally admitted that Area 51 exists, it seems like a lot of secrecy remains. Do you think we'll ever get the full story? Or will some of those secrets stay hidden forever?
It's hard to say. Governments tend to hold on to secrets pretty tightly, even after all these years. Some things might just stay buried forever.
Yeah, maybe. But even without all the answers, exploring the history of Area 51 has been pretty amazing, hasn't it? We've talked about incredible technological advancements, dug into the Cold War, and even tackled the whole UFO mystery.
It's been quite a journey. It shows how one place can become such a powerful symbol, with so many different stories and interpretations swirling around it.
Area 51, it's where history, technology, and human experience all come together. It's a reminder that progress isn't always easy, and that the quest for knowledge can sometimes lead us down some pretty strange paths.
And it highlights the importance of being critical thinkers, being able to weigh evidence, consider different perspectives, and form our own conclusions, especially when we're talking about something like Area 51, with all its mystery and controversy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. Area 51, it's more than just a dot on the map. It represents our fascination with the unknown, our drive to push the limits, and the enduring power of secrets.
What about Area 51 intrigues you? What questions are you left with? What secrets do you think are still out there, waiting to be discovered?
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and, keep looking up at the stars.
Who knows what's out there?
Exactly. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Area 51. Thanks for joining us.